doctors and budding doctors. My name is Dr. Shahnawaz, Associate Professor of Forensic Medicine, KIMS RF. So Rangara sir gave me this topic of scenario of present medical profession, which is a very vast topic. Yet I have to conclude it in only 30 minutes. And regarding the present situation that is prevailing in medical profession, I assume that I am not that competent enough to speak. That's why I have consulted some of the senior most medical practitioners who are actually my teachers during undergraduate days. And regarding, after consulting them and collecting their valuable opinions and feedback regarding the present medical profession, I am speaking today. So whatever I speak today is the opinion of senior most doctors, retired doctors, mostly from the area of Vizag, KGH. Let us see various aspects regarding this. So this is the overview which contains various kinds of patients and their ideology regarding doctors and hospitals before I mean a few decades ago and now, present day. And then second one, insults made by patient attendants, role of quacks in healthcare system, conviction rate of doctors, and then practice in rural areas, doctors in government sector, and graphs of cases and violence against doctors, recent cases of doctor attacks, and then finally, is the practice benefit worth the risk? We shall talk about it. So coming to various kinds of patients and their ideology regarding doctors and hospitals. So their ideology regarding the doctors and medical profession has drastically changed from recent 1 or 2 decades, as all of you know it. And these are some of the reasons behind that drastic change in the ideology or mentality of the patients while they are consulting a doctor or while they are approaching a hospital for health needs. So here, corporate hospitals, marketing and business modules of the corporate hospitals has brought an image of a business to medical profession. In last 1 or 2 decades, large number of non-medical corporate sectors like many, they are flowing into the medical stream because there is a lot of profit and benefit in practicing or in doing hospital business, especially in urban regions and cities. The positive aspect of this corporate hospitals, budding of plenty of corporate hospitals in urban areas as well as in towns. The positive aspect is that there is tremendous improvement in medical facilities, surgeries, and the new medical methods, and many foreign doctors are invited to these corporate hospitals, and new medical techniques, treatments, protocols have been constantly updating. Even robotic surgery is available in most of the cities in India nowadays. So these are very helpful. So health-wise or in the health sector, India has grown a lot in recent decades. Even patients from European nations are coming to India for surgeries because of the affordability of surgery. The surgery which is 10 times more expensive in Europe or America, it is much cheaper in India. So there is a development of medical tourism. So that is the positive aspect. But because of ongoing or increasing competition in this medical field, what happens is there is some kind of black sheep that are developing in the medical profession. They may not be doctors. They may be the managing part of the hospital. So because of that, the quality of medical services has drastically improved, but quality comes with a cost, always. But majority of the Indian population, they are below the poverty line. Only 1% of the Indian population are taxpayers. 99% are not. No ID returns. So in such case, how can they afford to such kind of quality or international standard of medical care? So the reason behind is most of the patients can't afford, and then most of the population, majority of the population lack health insurance. Forget about Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, we have Aarogyasri or some other insurance, ESI schemes. But in other parts, majority of the states and northern states, there are no such schemes. Patient have to pay from his own pocket whenever there is a health emergency or even for any kind of medical help. And then pending bills. So when a patient attendant is waiting at the attendant hall, he will be constantly informed regarding the pending bills of his patient. So that brings him some kind of insecurity whether he will be able to continue the treatment or not. And then his ideology begins to change. Right? If something happens to my patient, then I will see. So that kind of mentality brings some kind of violent ideas. So that kind of violence always helps. Rather than fighting in the court, many hospitals comes with an idea of compromise. So this is working out for the patient. Causing violence, causing a malicious accusation, verbal abuse, or opting for media's help to blame a doctor is actually helping in many cases. The hospitals are simply compromising. They don't want to get defamed for silly reasons, for a couple of lakh rupees. They just compensate it and they will get rid of that case. So this is what is the scenario in corporate hospitals. And then patient with a background. A patient who is having any kind of background, that could be political background, that could be media background, or he is having a background of good number of friends who are ready to mob. So they are more prone to cause problem in medical practice. And then illiterate patient attendance is one more thing. Illiteracy, very common. And then especially in rural areas, illiterate attendants are not in a position to understand various complications that could occur in the course of treatment. They are only in the idea of, I am paying, I should get the profit. I am paying this much, the patient should survive. Or else he is also influenced by, especially illiterate patients, uneducated patients. Almost most of them are influenced by media and movies. So you might have remembered Tagore movie where he shows a scene where a dead patient will be treated by a corporate hospital. Yes, black sheep are present everywhere, even in the judiciary. Black sheep are present everywhere. But catching one black sheep, accusing the entire medical profession is not right. And then influence of media. Media is always in a hunger to raise their TRPs. Just like in medical profession, competition is highly increased in the media as well, especially in the TV media, television media. So in order to get their TRPs high, They are in a hunger to grab any kind of news without actually checking the facts of the news. And when you are blaming a doctor, I think the TRPs are really high. Even for a simple case in a town that occurs, in a case that happens without knowing the facts, even in Namalapuram, recently we have seen certain cases where state-wise attention has grabbed regarding a false accusation. So media is always on the side of patient attendants or the one who are actually causing false accusations. So blaming a doctor is easy for them. Then various kinds of insults made by patient attendants. So the insult could be a physical attack, verbal abuse, malicious accusation, blackmail, or suit for damages. And interesting scene here is generally accused is one party, victim is one party. If you hit someone, you are an accused of causing violence, and the one who got hit is the victim. But here, doctor is the one who is beaten, and he is also being accused of false cases. So here, especially in medical profession, we are the victims as well as we are the accused of causing medical negligence. And sympathy is always towards the patient side. But in most of the cases, the evidence is always towards the doctor's side. That is positive side. Right? So people always sympathize the patient. That's why the TRPs are rising. That is the recent change in the ideology of general public. So everyone, the public, are in the ideology that healthcare should be very cheap. Healthcare should be free of cost. Healthcare should be very much affordable. And no one actually prepares to buy a health insurance. So with that kind of ideology, for at some point of time, every citizen needs to go to the hospital. And whenever he goes to the hospital, he goes for a good hospital. Everyone opts for a better hospital or a corporate hospital nowadays. And everyone comes out of the hospital, even though getting well, he blames that చూడండి ఇంత బిల్ వేశారు 3 లక్షలు అయింది డెంగ్యూకి వస్తే చిన్న జ్వరానికి వస్తేనేమో 3 లక్షలు బిల్ వేశారు. సో సాటిస్ఫాక్షన్ అనేది వాళ్ళకి ఫ్రీగా చేస్తేనే వస్తుంది. సో ఆ విధమైన ఐడియాలజీలో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఏంటంటే ఎవరైనా డాక్టర్ని తిట్టినా లేదా సింపతి అనేది డాక్టర్ మీద ఎట్టి పరిస్థితుల్లో మనకు కనబడదు. And then most of the litigations fail prima facie. Prima facie is the legal term for initial evidence. So most litigations have no evidence because most of the litigations are false. Meanwhile, the reputation of the doctor is damaged. The reputation of the hospital is damaged because of media trail. Media trail is spontaneous. Media trail is always one side of the coin. So always reputation and mental trauma is faced by the doctor. Coming to the third aspect, that is the role of quacks in healthcare system. So for the benefit of budding doctors who are yet in undergraduation, I would like to tell you quacks are those people who are practicing allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, dentistry or veterinary even, without actually having any qualification regarding whatever department it is. So I have seen the worst scenarios. I also have been in medical practice since last 5 years. So according to the IMA, more than 10 lakh quacks are practicing allopathy in India. So how the quacks are actually involved in controlling the healthcare system in India. Quacks are always have been there in the healthcare system, not now. Even 30-40 years ago also, deliveries were conducted by local dais. Quacks were always there. But they were not in a situation where the corporate hospitals, multi-specialty hospitals are controlled by the quacks. The present day, the situation is like that. The quacks are those who are very much intimate, very much close, and maintain very good relationship to the patients. They are available everywhere, tribal areas, interiors, every village, every street they are available. So that is the only reason for their successful blossoming as doctors, village doctors. Because of their 24 by 7 and 365 days of availability, whether they treat well or not, but yet people consider them, especially in rural and village areas, consider them as doctors, and always they are the primary physician for them. And because of that, they have the patients with them. And then a young doctor or budding doctors or freshly passed out PGs who wants to establish his own setup or a hospital is in a kind of hunger to gain patients as fast as possible. So there is a shortcut for this, an unethical shortcut, that is association with quacks. So these quacks, what they do is, so most of the doctors know all this. This is for the benefit of undergraduates, sir. So most of them are associated with hospitals where they get 20 to 30%, depends, 20 to 30% of the patient's bill as commission. So in this way they send the patients and they get the benefit. But who is losing here? The patient is losing here. Whatever they are paying to the quack is attained from the patient's bill only. So how is this affecting medical profession is? Not all the doctors are associated with them. Most of the doctors are not associated with them. Right? So those who are not associated with the quacks are always prone for violence. Right? So the quacks are always in the idea that మీరు ఆ డాక్టర్ గారి దగ్గరికి వెళ్తే ఆయనకి మాకు సంబంధం లేదు, మీరు ఆ డాక్టర్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్తే ఆయన సరిగ్గా చేస్తారో లేదు. సో ఇలాంటి నెగిటివ్ ఇంపాక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేసే అవకాశం ఉన్నది. సో ఎవరైతే అసోసియేట్ అయ్యి లేరో వాళ్ళకి వైలెన్స్ లేదా అబ్యూస్ జరిగే ఛాన్సెస్ చాలా ఎక్కువ ఉన్నాయి. ఈ విధంగా దట్ ఈస్ ద రోల్ ఆఫ్ క్వాక్స్ ఇన్ ప్రజెంట్ హెల్త్ సిస్టమ్. అండ్ కన్విక్షన్ రేట్ అయితే ఎవరైతే దోషిగా ఉన్నారో, నేరం ఒకవేళ ఆరోపణ జరిగిన తర్వాత కన్విక్షన్ అయితే, అంటే జైలు శిక్ష పడితే, నిరూపితమైతే దాన్ని కన్విక్షన్ అంటారు. కన్విక్షన్ రేట్ ఇన్ USA 90% ఆఫ్ ద కేసెస్ ఆర్ వన్ బై డాక్టర్స్ itself. సేమ్ కేస్ ఇన్ ఇండియా ఆల్సో. ఓన్లీ 10% ఆఫ్ medical litigations are proved against the doctor, 90% are not. But the mental trauma, psychological trauma and prolonged court procedures, that is something that has to be considered. And practice in rural areas. Doctors in the rural setup are more prone. Rural areas, it is very easy to gather a mob. And there are a lot of unemployed youth who actually doesn't know the complications after attacking a doctor. So they are more prone. And then single practitioners who are mostly situated in villages and towns, they are more prone to the violence by patients' attendants. Then coming to government doctors or doctors in the government sector who are serving. So because of poor pre-hospital emergency care network and poor quality of emergency care, I don't mean that the doctors who are working in the government sector are not competent enough to manage an emergency case. That's not my opinion. Right? They are competent enough. But yes, emergency care is a lot more of a teamwork and a very complicated one, which requires a lot of infrastructure, a lot of medical equipment, and helping paramedics So all this team together will be able to handle all cases of emergency in such a setup. So if you see in government hospital, most of the government hospitals do have defibrillators, but they don't work. No maintenance. Even ECG machine is not maintained well. Ventilators, yes, they do have, but not in a state of functioning. So in such cases, and also the branch of emergency medicine has only started in the recent 1 decade. So that branch has yet to be developed a lot and introduced into the government sector. And proper emergency training is not given in the government sector, as well as poor grievance redressal mechanism and intolerance and fearlessness against rule of law among the youth is one more reason. And the root cause behind that is being uneducated. High workload in the government sector. Even though even now recent recruitment also included emergency medicine physicians into the government sector, even in area hospitals in many towns and cities. But that is not adequate, because the ratio between the number of cases of emergency that will enter the casualty to the number of emergency physicians in the hospital is not comparable. So because of high workload, even though with a very good setup, a doctor may not attend or may not spend adequate time with the patient. So that gives a sense of feeling that among the patient's attendants that the doctor is not spending enough time with the patient. Why he is not? They don't care about the workload, they don't know what is happening in the hospital, but yet they feel that the doctor is not spending enough time. That may cause the ideas to cause violence. And then political interference. So patient attendants or violent mob who are localites, and the doctor in the government setup is brought from somewhere else, recruited from somewhere else. He doesn't even have a note in that constituency. So politicians will always support the mob in most of the cases. Unrestricted public access to all areas in the government hospital. If you visit a government hospital, dear undergraduates, once visit a government hospital, this is very near to yours. You can see patient attendants even in the ICU. So they are everywhere. Casualty, ICU, wards. There is no security system who stops them. So that is one more reason. And then there is no surveillance, proper surveillance and mock drills that is practiced in government hospitals. And then graphs of cases and violence against doctors. An ongoing study by IMA reports that 75% of doctors in India have faced violence at some point of time in their life, and most of the time it is verbal abuse. Emergency and ICU are the most violent venues, and visiting hours is the most violent thing. These are the photographs or paper cuttings which I have collected in just 1 month of tenure, just in the month of August and September. సో భార్యని చంపి ఆసుపత్రిపై నెట్టి ఇక్కడ మహానుభావుడు ఏం చేశాడంటే తన భార్యని, ఇద్దరు భార్యలు, చదివి పెడతాను మీకు. సో అతనికి 2 భార్యలు, వాళ్ళిద్దరి మధ్య గొడవలు. ఒకరిని చంపేస్తే తప్ప తనకు మనశ్శాంతి లేదనుకున్నాడు. చిన్న భార్యకు మత్తుమందు ఇచ్చి చంపేశాడు. ఆమె బిడ్డను ప్రసవించిన మరుసటి రోజే ఆసుపత్రిలో ఇంజెక్షన్ చేశాడు. ఆపై వైద్యుల నిర్లక్ష్యం వల్లే తన భార్య చనిపోయిందని లబోదిబోమన్నాడు. ఖమ్మం జిల్లాలో 50 రోజుల క్రితం జరిగిన ఈ దారుణం ఆలస్యంగా వెలుగులోకి వచ్చింది. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద మెంటాలిటీ. సో సింపుల్ అన్నమాట. డాక్టర్ మీద నెట్టేస్తే న్యాయం జరుగుతుంది. సో మర్డర్ని తప్పించుకోవడానికి కూడా మెడికల్ నెగ్లిజెన్స్ని యూజ్ చేసుకునే పరిస్థితి ఇండియాలో ఉన్నది. ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఇది కాకినాడలో రీసెంట్గా 3 వీక్స్ బ్యాక్ జరిగింది. ఇదేంటంటే ఫాల్స్ అక్యూజేషన్ అనమాట, ఆర్ మలీషియస్ అక్యూజేషన్. ఏంటంటే తను గర్భవతి యాక్చువల్లీ కాదు, కానీ గర్భవతి అని చెప్పి తనకి 9 నెలల పాటు ట్రీట్మెంట్ ఇచ్చారు. డెలివరీ డేట్ ఇచ్చారు అని చెప్పి ఒక ఫాల్స్ అక్విజిషన్ మోపడం జరిగింది. దాని గురించి క్లారిటీ కూడా ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది రమ్య హాస్పిటల్లో కాకినాడలో. సో మన సిఎంఈ అనౌన్స్ చేసిన తర్వాత జరిగిన కేసులు ఇవన్నీ. దీన్ని బట్టి ఎంత ఎంత మల్టీఫోల్డెడ్గా ఉంది సిచ్యువేషన్ అనేది మీకు అర్థమవుతుంది. ఇంతకుముందు కూడా ఉన్నాయి వైలెంట్ కేసెస్ అనేది. ఎప్పుడో సంవత్సరానికి ఒకటి చూసేవాళ్ళం, ఇప్పుడు వారానికి చూస్తాం. అండ్ దెన్ ఇది మరీ జోక్. గర్భసంచి తొలగించకుండానే ఆరోపణలు ఫాల్స్ అక్విజిషన్స్ చేయడం జరిగింది అమలాపురంలో ఒక పెద్ద హాస్పిటల్. సో ఇక్కడ డాక్టర్ గిరిజా కుమారి గారు వెరీ ఎమినెంట్ అండ్ వెరీ వెరీ ఫేమస్ గైనకాలజిస్ట్ ఇన్ అమలాపురం ఏరియా. సో ఫాల్స్ అక్విజిషన్ ఏంటంటే సర్జరీ చేశారు, బాగు చేసిన పేషెంట్ని హ్యాపీగా ఇంటికి పంపించిన పేషెంట్ని మరి ఏ కారణం మీదనో డబ్బుల కోసం మరి దేనికోసం గర్భసంచి తొలగించారని చెప్పి ఫాల్స్ అక్విజిషన్ చేస్తే మహనీయులు మీడియా పర్సనల్స్ అదేమి పట్టించుకోకుండా అసలు కన్సల్ట్ చేయకుండా డాక్టర్ని ఫాల్స్ అక్విజిషన్ని మీడియా ట్రయల్ చేయడం జరిగింది, కన్విక్ట్ చేయడం జరిగింది, టీవీలో ప్రసరించడం కూడా జరిగింది, డాక్టర్ని బ్లేమ్ చేయడం జరిగింది. సో లాట్ ఆఫ్ మెంటల్ ట్రామా. సో ఇలాంటి కేసులు చాలా జరుగుతూ ఉన్నాయి. తీరా చూస్తే అక్కడ ఏమీ లేదు. ఆ తర్వాత దానికి సంబంధించి క్షమాపణ కూడా మీడియా చెప్పడం జరగలేదు టీవీలో. సో ఈ విధంగా ఉంది మీడియా.
That also better to inform the audience also.
Yes sir.
One side is other side also.
Small correction. TV9 has been informed by the IMA president sir, and TV9 has corrected this. Corrected this.
With a lot of unity of doctors.
Yes.
That we have. There is a good
Yes.
success sir. Success. That the information we have to go.
So regarding this case, sir is very much related to them. His own brother's hospital, and he is Dr. Murthy sir, IMA president of Amlapuram. He will speak regarding this case.
Just a few words regarding this incident. Better correct person to.
అయితే
there is a positive success for the unity of the doctor.
అయితే ఫాల్స్ అక్విజిషన్ ఫ్లాష్ న్యూస్ లాగా రోజంతా చూపించారు, కానీ సారీ చెప్పడానికి మాత్రం చిన్న మొక్క సెకండ్లో చెప్పారు.
That is the media.
అది మీడియా.
That is the media.
సో అది ఆ విధంగా ఉంది. సో దీస్ ఆర్ సమ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఫోటోగ్రాఫ్స్. So these are some of the disturbing visuals that recently took place in Assam. The doctor has been mocked, physically abused.
ऑक्सीजन सैचुरेशन 30% था। तो 8 दिन से बुखार, खांसी और सांस लेने में तकलीफ थी और प्राइवेट में डॉक्टर आपका इलाज करा रहा था। यहाँ जैसे पेशेंट आया मैंने उसको एक्सप्लेन कर दिया साथ वालों को, देखो हालत बहुत खराब है, कुछ नहीं हो सकता, एक भी बेड उपलब्ध नहीं था अस्पताल में और कहीं बाहर शिफ्ट नहीं हो सकता। मैंने वहीं रह के उसको जितनी मेहनत कर सकते इमरजेंसी में मेहनत करी और 2-3 बार मैंने पेशेंट के साथ वालों को बता दिया दादा कि उसको बाहर भी नहीं भेज सकते इसीलिए कि हालत बहुत खराब। 2 घंटे बाद पेशेंट की डेथ हो गई, जो कि 30% में मैं आपको बोल चुका हूँ, ऊपर वाला अगर तो नहीं बचा सकता, हम तो इंसान है, डॉक्टर है। और वो जैसे ही खत्म हुआ मैं वहीं था, खत्म होने के बाद पता नहीं कहां से कुछ बाहरी लोग आ गए और 30 लोगों के सामने मेरे साथ इतना बुरा दुर्व्यवहार किया है कि मैं इतना मानसिक रूप से व्यथित हूँ, मैं रो रहा हूँ, मुझे नौकरी नहीं करना, मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ, इतनी गाली खाती हुई है। मैं दे दिया, मैंने इस्तीफा दे दिया, मैंने मुझे नौकरी नहीं करना कर दिया, दे दिया इस्तीफा मैंने। मुझे मैं इस कदर की गालियां बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकता, मेरी गलती, मुझे 50 मुझे मान लो गाली दे दो, मुझे मंजूर है, बगैर गलती के इस तरह लोग बाहर से आएंगे तो रोज कोरोना में डेथ होना, आज के दिन गाली दी, कल के दिन मारेंगे, कोई चाकू मार दे पेट में, मुझे नहीं करना दादा ऐसी नौकरी। मैंने रिजाइन कर दिया आज से और कल से मैं घर बैठूंगा, दादा मैं नहीं करना, मेरे बस का नहीं है।
Good video.
And finally, the message is no physician, however conscientious or careful, can tell what day or hour he may be the object of some undeserved attack, malicious accusation, blackmail, or suit for damages. However careful you are, how much careful you are, doesn't matter. At some point of time you may face. So, is the benefit of practice worth the risk? Even though the violence upon doctors have increased multifold in the recent 1 or 2 decades, the cases of violence are low. Increased multifold, that is 10 to 15 cases in a month అనుకోండి all over India violence. ఇప్పుడు ఒక 200-300 cases in a month లాగా వచ్చింది అనుకోండి రిపోర్టెడ్ కేసెస్. ఈవెన్ దో దట్ ఈస్ లెస్, ఎందుకంటే మనం ట్రీట్ చేస్తున్న పేషెంట్లు లక్షల్లో ఉన్నారు, కేసెస్ వందల్లో ఉన్నాయి, వైలెన్స్ అనేవి వందల్లో ఉన్నాయి. సో అలాంటప్పుడు వీఆర్ ఇన్ ఎ నోబెల్ ప్రొఫెషన్ వితౌట్ విచ్ ద నేషన్ విల్ బి హ్యాండిక్యాప్డ్. ఇట్స్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద పిల్లర్స్ that actually runs a nation from being sick. So in such case, always the benefit of practice is beneficial, even though there are some violent people or criminal people who always wants to cause trouble in the healthcare network. Even though there are less number of cases, and it's up to you doctors to decide to practice. Doctor doesn't mean the doctor who is practicing is not only a doctor. Doctors could be non-practicing doctors. Doctors could be in teaching profession. Doctors could be in managing profession of a hospital without actually practicing. Or doctors could be in non-medical field also. So it is up to you. But I think very few of the doctors will opt from stopping medical practice due to the fear of being attacked by some kind of wound. So, but the take-home message is this: that is benefit of practice worth the risk, and it is left up to you to decide. And these are the references from which I have got the information that how many doctors are actually suffering, and how many quacks are actually practicing and all. This is the same presentation is always available on SlideShare. You can download it and you can have a second look if you want to. And finally, thank you to KIMS and as well as our beloved HOD sir, Dr. Rangara sir, for giving me this golden opportunity to speak regarding this vast topic. Thank you.